There is a moment in every long commitment when you realize the silence you once shared is no longer proof of intimacy. It is proof of distance. You look across the room, or perhaps across the breakfast table, and you see a person whose life is deeply intertwined with yours, financially, historically, functionally. But the emotional lines, the threads of curiosity and hunger that once pulled you together, they seem to have gone slack. The problem, as many people experience it, is not the sudden eruption of conflict. The problem is the slow, quiet erosion of meaning. We often enter long relationships seeking safety. We want a witness to our lives. We want consistency. And we receive it. But safety, while necessary for survival, is often the enemy of desire. Desire thrives on distance, on mystery, on the possibility of risk. When the partner becomes entirely known, predictable, categorized, moved from the realm of the lover into the realm of the relative, the emotional space between you collapses. You begin to starve, not for love, but for vitality. The question that echoes in the quiet hours is not, do I still love them? The answer to that is usually yes. You are bound by respect, by history, by the complex architecture you built together. The deeper, more painful question is, am I still alive in this relationship? Or perhaps, do they still see the person I am, or only the role I play? This is the turning point where emotional emptiness begins to settle. It is a unique kind of loneliness that only appears when you are constantly in the presence of someone who no longer truly recognizes you. You become a fixture in the landscape of their life. When we talk about the drift that happens in long marriages, we must be careful not to judge the symptoms as the disease. The attraction that suddenly appears for someone outside the relationship is rarely about finding a better person. It is often about finding a mirror that reflects a better, brighter version of the self we feel we have lost. Many people confuse the search for desire with a lack of character. That is a misunderstanding of human psychology. When the primary relationship stops being a source of recognition, when your partner stops asking the questions that require you to define yourself anew, you seek that confirmation elsewhere. You are not seeking to betray your partner, you are seeking to reclaim your own sense of aliveness. Some authors explain that we often fall in love with people who fill the gaps in our own narratives. We are drawn to those who allow us to reconnect with the parts of ourselves that have been suppressed by the demands of domesticity and routine. The attraction is not to the person across the room, but to the feeling of being seen, of being momentarily free from the heavy script of the known life. It is common to believe that if two people are fundamentally good, honest, and committed, their relationship should be immune to this kind of emotional hunger. But commitment and desire operate by different laws. Commitment is built on reliability. Desire is built on imagination. When you live side by side for decades, you develop a deep, shared language of facts, logistics, schedules, finances, childcare. But the language of the soul, the language of fears, dreams, and evolving identities, that language often falls silent. It is assumed, perhaps, that after 20 years, everything that needs to be said has been said. This assumption is lethal. The need to be seen is not a childish need. It is a fundamental adult requirement. If you are constantly performing the role of the parent, the provider, or the dependable spouse, and the individual underneath those roles is never acknowledged, that individual will eventually look for an audience. The silence you dread is not empty. It is heavy. It is heavy with all the unsaid vulnerability, all the unasked questions, and all the unspoken possibilities that have been shelved in favor of stability. When the intimate silence, the silence that says, I know you are here, and I feel safe, transforms into the isolating silence, the silence that says, I am here, but I am alone, that is when the separate lives begin. They are lived in the same house, under the same roof, but the emotional geography of each person has begun to diverge significantly. This divergence is often powered by the different ways men and women process emotional depletion. It is often observed that women tend to seek emotional connection and conversation to bridge the gap. They search for the verbal architecture that will re-establish intimacy. They need to know the internal landscape of their partner. Men, conversely, often respond to emptiness by retreating into competence or function. They may double down on work, or hobbies, or physical tasks that provide a sense of mastery and control. The emotional void is managed by filling the schedule. The emotional conversation feels unproductive, perhaps even threatening, because it requires confronting the failure of connection, which is often harder than confronting a professional failure. This difference in coping mechanisms leads to a terrible feedback loop. One partner reaches out, often with frustration, seeking dialogue. The other retreats, seeking stillness or distraction. The reaching feels like neediness, and the retreating feels like abandonment. And so, the very things that are meant to save the marriage, the desire for connection, the need for space, become the tools that sharpen the distance. We must distinguish between desire and neediness. Neediness is the demand that the other person complete you. Desire is the invitation for the other person to witness your self-completion. When the relationship has become defined by mutual neediness, relying on each other for functional stability, the desire often vanishes, because there is no room for the playful, uncertain energy of two separate, vital individuals meeting. You may find yourself in a state of constant, low-grade yearning. Not necessarily yearning for a specific person, but yearning for the feeling of being desired, of being chased, of being surprised. This is the yearning for the return of the erotic in its broadest sense, the energy of life, curiosity, and creation. The critical realization is that you do not need to destroy the foundation you have built in order to bring back the vitality. You simply need to stop confusing safety with suffocation. The challenge is learning how to be safe and adventurous at the same time. How to be deeply known, yet still mysterious. How to build a shared history without turning the future into a closed book. This requires a profound shift in perspective. It demands that you stop treating your partner as a given, and start treating them as a secret you must continually uncover. Because if you do not, the silence will continue its work. It will continue to harden the space between you until you are only sharing a residence, and not a life. The shift begins not by looking across the room and demanding that your partner fill the void, but by looking inward. You must become interesting again. Not just accessible, but interesting. Vitality is not something you receive from your partner, it is something you generate within yourself and then share. The responsibility is yours to challenge your own script, to reclaim the parts of your identity that were shelved when the relationship became an institution. This requires intentional separation. Many people mistake constant proximity for deep connection. But true connection requires the courage to maintain separate worlds, separate interests, separate friends, separate intellectual lives. You must have stories to tell that your partner does not already know. When you return to the shared table as a traveler returning home, you are not just a fixture in the landscape. You are a source of news, of novelty, of the unknown. That distance creates the necessary tension for desire to exist. If you want to treat your partner as a secret you must continually uncover, you have to start asking different questions. Stop asking the questions that require only logistical answers. Asterisk, did you pay that bill? What time are you home? Asterisk, these are questions of function. Start asking the questions of meaning. Asterisk, what are you worried about that you haven't told me? What part of your day today made you feel most truly yourself? Asterisk. This is the hard work of emotional archaeology. You are digging past the roles, the mother, the provider, the dependable spouse, to find the individual underneath who is still evolving, still hungry. If you only talk about the architecture you have built together, you are living in the past. You must actively discuss the architecture you are still dreaming of building, even if those dreams seem frightening or unrealistic. The relationship must be a place where identity is negotiated, not merely confirmed. To adjust the dynamic, we must constantly distinguish between desire and neediness. Neediness demands that the other person conform to a stable, predictable role to make you feel safe. Desire is the appreciation for the otherness of the partner. It is the recognition that they are a separate, sovereign entity who chooses to be with you. When the relationship has become defined by mutual neediness, relying on each other for functional stability, the desire often vanishes, because there is no room for the playful, uncertain energy of two separate, vital individuals meeting. There is simply the heavy weight of expectation. The challenge, therefore, is not to find a way back to the comfortable fusion of the early years. That fusion was often a temporary suspension of identity. The challenge is to move forward into a mature interdependence, where both partners are robustly independent and choose to meet in the middle, bringing their separate, thriving worlds together. This demands vulnerability, but a powerful kind of vulnerability. Not the vulnerability that says, "I cannot survive without you," but the vulnerability that says, "I am fully myself, and I choose to show that self to you, knowing you might not understand." The journey back from separate lives is not easy, and it carries no guarantees. There is no simple formula for reigniting the spark. But it starts with the brave choice to break the heavy silence with deliberate, honest noise. It means refusing to accept the quiet resignation that settles when you stop asking questions. And if you succeed in this redefinition, if you reintroduce curiosity and risk into the safety you have already built, the silence you eventually share will be different. It will be the silence of two people who know the vastness of the space between them, but who choose, actively, intentionally, to meet in the middle. That redefined silence is not the proof of distance. It is the proof of a shared life, renewed.
If this helped you, subscribe now for more videos like this. Thank you.